When we picture the fall of Rome, we imagine barbarian hordes at the gates, failing legions, or emperors poisoned in opulent palaces. But empires rarely crumble from external attacks alone. They rot from within. And one of the most corrosive agents is always money. Rome didn't collapse merely from invasions or corruption. It fell because its currency imploded. The lessons from that collapse are a timeless warning to any modern economy that believes it can manipulate money without consequence. Let's set the scene. For centuries, the silver denarius was the cornerstone of Rome's economy. First minted around 211 BC, it was almost pure silver, a coin trusted throughout the empire and beyond. Soldiers received their wages in it, merchants prized it, and common citizens saved their wealth with it. The denarius was more than just currency, it was confidence cast in metal. The empire's might and the coin's value were intrinsically linked. As long as the world believed in Rome, it believed in its money. However, maintaining an empire is an expensive endeavor. Legions needed payment. Infrastructure like roads and aqueducts required building, and wars demanded financing. By the 2nd century AD, Rome was stretched to its limits, defending vast borders against Germanic tribes, Parthians in the east, and internal revolts. Tax revenues simply couldn't cover the immense military expenditures. So, the emperors resorted to a timeless trick: debasement. Instead of raising taxes, a deeply unpopular move, they started reducing the silver content of the denarius. The numbers reveal the stark reality. Under Emperor Augustus, at the empire's dawn, the denarius was about 95% silver. By the reign of Caracalla in the early 3rd century, that figure had plummeted to roughly 50%. By the mid-3rd century, under Emperor Gallienus, the denarius contained less than 5% silver. A coin that was once solid precious metal had become a bronze disc with a thin silver coating. The people could see and feel the deception. Inflation inevitably followed. As money lost its anchor to real value, prices soared. A measure of wheat that once cost a single denarius could now cost dozens. This wasn't an abstract economic theory. It was a force that destroyed the lives of ordinary Romans. Soldiers demanded higher wages to afford basic goods. Merchants began refusing the debased coins, opting for barter or payment in gold. Local economies regressed to direct trade as trust in the official currency evaporated. The more confidence eroded, the more emperors minted worthless coins, hoping quantity could substitute for quality, a vicious cycle that has defined countless inflations since. The situation reached its peak during the crisis of the 3rd century. From 235 to 284 AD, Rome endured 50 years of relentless chaos. Invasions, plagues, civil wars, and total economic collapse. Emperors rose and fell with shocking speed, some reigning for only a few months before assassination. Beneath this political turmoil was a shattered financial system. Taxes were collected in coins that were increasingly worthless. Farmers abandoned their lands to escape the tax burden. Trade networks fractured. The government implemented desperate measures, from price controls to forced labor, but nothing could save the sinking ship. Emperor Diocletian attempted a radical fix in 301 AD with his edict on maximum prices, which set fixed costs for over 1,000 goods and services, with the death penalty for violators. The edict was a complete disaster. You cannot legislate value into worthless money. A black market boomed, and legitimate trade ground to a halt. People quickly learned that a government decree could not make a broken coin whole. Ultimately, Rome abandoned the denarius. Around 312 AD, Constantine the Great introduced the solidus, a gold coin of consistent purity. It brought back some stability and endured for centuries in the Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire. But for the Western Empire, it was too late. The debasement of the denarius had rotted Rome's economic core. Armies could not be paid, trade was broken, and societal trust was gone. The fall of Rome wasn't a single event, but a slow unraveling, and currency collapse was one of the sharpest threads that pulled it apart. What does this ancient history mean for us? It means the destruction of money is the destruction of empires. Rome thought it could fool its citizens with coins that looked the same but held less value. Modern governments believe they can do the same by printing paper currency, manipulating interest rates, or inflating away their debts. The outcome is always the same. The populace pays the price, wealth is annihilated, and trust collapses. Rome learned this the hard way. If we ignore its lesson, so will we. History's classroom did not close after Rome. Every major inflationary crisis since has followed the same script. Governments debase their currency to fund their expenses, elites shield themselves with real assets, and the common person is left financially ruined. The Roman currency crisis is the original blueprint for collapse. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the echoes are deafening. After World War I, Germany printed marks to pay crushing reparations. By 1923, a loaf of bread cost over 200 billion marks. People used wheelbarrows to carry their wages, and the life savings of pensioners vanished. Just as in Rome, those with real assets emerged stronger, while the economic despair fueled the political extremism that led to Hitler's rise. Zimbabwe walked the same path in the 2000s. The government turned on the printing presses, and by 2008, annual inflation reached 89.7 sextillion%. Prices doubled daily. The nation eventually abandoned its currency altogether. Once again, a government tried to defy economic reality, and the people paid dearly. This pattern isn't limited to extreme cases. In 1971, President Nixon detached the US dollar from the gold standard, making it a fiat currency, backed only by trust in the government. Just as in Rome, the temptation to spend beyond its means became irresistible. Over the decades, debt has skyrocketed and the money supply has expanded, leading to a steady erosion of purchasing power. A dollar from 1971 has the buying power of more than $6 today. The bills look the same, but their value has been hollowed out. The deception is consistent. Governments mask inflation as growth, present debt as investment, and point to rising stock markets as proof of wealth, even as the majority's real financial standing declines. Like the Roman emperors, they pretend nothing has fundamentally changed while silently siphoning value from every paycheck and savings account. The danger today is that this system is global. The next major collapse won't be confined to one country. It will be a worldwide event. History shows it will be the millions who depend on salaries and pensions who will suffer the most, not the elites who hold real assets. So, what is the lesson from Rome's financial crisis for you? First, understand that inflation is not an accident. It is a policy, a silent tax that has toppled empires for millennia. Second, realize that true wealth lies in assets that retain value when money fails: land, skills, productive businesses. Third, never take stability for granted. Romans in the 1st century would have scoffed at the notion their money would become worthless, just as Germans did in 1913. The fall of Rome is a stark reminder that financial systems unravel slowly, then all at once, as trust evaporates. When money ceases to be real, society itself begins to decay. The barbarians at the gate might deliver the final blow, but the real killer is always born inside the treasury. The punchline is this: history may not repeat exactly, but if you fail to understand its lessons, it will crush you all the same. The crisis of Roman currency was about the inherent fragility of money when abused by power, and that fragility has never disappeared.